Well, hello and welcome to this LinkedIn Live interview where I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Renney, Managing Director of Wubbleyou. And today we're going to be talking about how to unlock a seven-figure revenue stream with your own tech product. So thanks for joining, Mark. Before we get started, I just thought it'd be good if you could just briefly tell everyone watching this a little bit about your business and your team.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me as well, Paul. Yeah, so I run a software development company called Wubbleyou. And what we're really good at is bringing tech products to market for scaling businesses and public sector. So for public sector, we're generally building and bringing products to market for the likes of the Department for Education, for example, and their National Apprenticeship Awards in week sort of flagship platforms. For scaling businesses, it tends to be products that um, they already have a service or something going on in the business already, and they want to understand how they can sort of productize that and turn it into a tech platform which is going to help them unlock further growth.
Okay, great. So yeah, I was reading that you've got experience of bringing over 100 tech products to market for. I think it's you've worked with everyone, haven't you? From like solo business owners, startup teams, established SMEs, public sector organisations. You mentioned the Department for Education, and I know you've worked with some councils as well. But
Yeah.
are there any common sort of threads or common themes or reasons why people want to go down this route?
Yeah, there is, Paul. I think something I've sort of realized actually quite recently, like what's shared amongst all of our clients and even the people that work for us and our suppliers, is people are generally thinking like there's got to be a better way of doing this, whatever this is. Um,
Mhm.
and typically our clients tend to be like change agents in their own sort of industry or what it is that they're doing. Um, they've spotted something which isn't working quite right either internally or in the market, and they want to do something to change that. So they tend to be tend to be led by people who are calculated risk takers and kind of want to push the boundaries out a little bit and sort of reap the reward from that.
Mhm.
So I think that tends to be what they all have in common.
Mhm. And would you say is it like a certain trigger that makes them want to do that? Is it usually led from the top, or is it like external factors or?
Yeah, I think in business and in scaling businesses especially, the trigger tends to be growth. Um, so I run a Wubbleyou is a scaling business as well, right? So I sort of understand what this is like. There tends to be there's this pressure generally from yourself and if you've got investors, them as well, around wanting to continue to grow and scale the business. And like that's kind of hard, you know. Like seeing 20% year on year growth, and seeing that compound is like seems to get harder and harder.
Mhm.
And I think where our scaling clients um, the benefit that they see in looking at a tech product to productize a service is it allows them to scale more quickly without necessarily having to add like way more people into the mix. Um,
Mhm.
so decouple sort of like growing the team from growing the service that you offer and deliver because like it's productized in a tech. And I think that is a driving factor and something that actually should be interesting to a lot of scaling businesses, especially if their market right now doesn't have a tech product that does what they do is as a service or a product, because there's just
Mhm.
a clear opportunity there.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you talked about the scaling businesses and the 20% growth, because I think unless they changed it, it used to be I think it was the OECD definition of a scale. It was 20% growth year on year for three or
Mm.
more consecutive years. Um,
Yeah, I've
so that
seen a
that is
few.
difficult.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's difficult, isn't it? There's not that many.
yeah,
Some people exceed that massively, but like not that many people can do that without some being tech enabled or having some sort of tech product or platform introduced.
yeah, or just I think it's hard, right? Like 5 million, you're talking about adding £1 million worth of revenue and maybe 20 people to your business to then deliver that. Um, like when you start hitting those numbers, like 20% scale year on year starts just must get very hard.
Yeah, and I've seen it as well. Like definitely service-based companies. Often the only way they can grow, or they think that the only way they can grow is just by hiring more people. Because I'm just thinking of industries like recruitment agencies, recruitment consultants, where
Yeah.
we'll bring in more people and we can work out that yes, there's increased overheads, but each person's going to bring in X amount of fees, and same with maybe agencies as well, like design agencies or maybe web development agencies, but definitely design agencies. Like I know you're more on this sort of tech slant rather than a design agency, but that typically there's companies more on the design end where they'll go for contracts and then hire in a load of people, and then if they lose the contract, they have to let people go. And there's definitely a lot of agencies I've met over the years who want to productize their service, and it's very difficult for them to do it because they haven't got the in-house capability.
Yeah, definitely. And there are companies who've productized sort of traditional services like recruitment, like engineering. You see them in the Northeast. And so it definitely can be done. And I put a post on LinkedIn about Harvest a couple of weeks back, which is it's a time tracking app. It's really simple. It's your service-based business. You need to track the amount of time that you're delivering on a project, so you know how to bill, or make sure you're not going over budget, right, or over servicing. And that started as a web design agency in 2006, and they then transitioned the business to build this product and app, and all they've done since is work out how to track time very, very well. And they're I think turnover like $100 million with it's a few hundred staff. So the revenue per head is just huge, and they're fully privately owned. So
Wow.
You just get a lot more scale if you do those sorts of things right. And I know that's an extreme example, but there's a big scale between sort of like agency, which is struggling to grow beyond sort of 10, 20 people, and that.
Yeah. So do you want to? No, that not really. I don't really know much about them, but yeah, they're phenomenal because they like you say, what they've done is they've niched down, and that they just do one thing really, really well, and there's a lot of value in what they provide. So like, do you want to talk a little bit about SaaS, like software as a service? Because I feel like I've been in that world for a long time, but like still, I think a lot of people don't actually know what it is. They're probably using SaaS products without realizing it.
Yeah, I mean, so SaaS is everywhere. So if you pay license or if you pay monthly for a bit of software somewhere, it's probably SaaS software. So so Harvest is one example. Xero, probably a lot of people are familiar with Xero or Free Agent or something like that. Accounting software. That's software as a service because it's delivering a service to you, i.e., accountancy function. But it's all built into software. So traditionally, before they came about, you would have paid accountants probably a lot of money to take all of your receipts and manage your accounts for you in Excel or ledgers or whatever it is. And then this SaaS software came along, and they do that for 30 quid a month. And now your accountants add value on top of the SaaS software rather than doing all of that management in itself. They do the management in the software and offload a lot of the heavy lifting into there. So that's SaaS software, and it can be applied in a lot of industries where it probably isn't right now.
Yeah, no, it's good examples you've given there. Definitely, I know. I mean, I remember I've worked for some of the big accountancy software companies, but I've twice actually, one of them, and I remember the days when people would pay and they would get floppy disks through the post, and then they would pay for the software. That was their software, and that was it. Like they owned it outright, and then they chose whether they upgraded it or not. But the move towards the cloud-based software as a service subscription, the initial outlay is small. It's much, instead of paying hundreds and hundreds of pounds, you just pay maybe 10, 15, 20 pound a month. but
Yeah.
long term, the amount that you pay or the value for the business is providing that software is much larger. So that's definitely
Yeah.
the massive benefit to the company providing the solutions, and then the accountants as well. Is a lot of accountants, modern accountants now, they've baked that into their service. So you pay them a fee, and you maybe get the software included, the accountancy software included, but
Yeah.
they're providing instead of just doing the bog standard accountancy, they're becoming much more of an advisory service. So they're looking out like future forecasting and making
Yeah.
recommendations on how you can grow your business, not just looking backwards at what you've already done.
Yeah, and I do actually think you've hit on a good point there, because I think if you're a service-based business at the minute, and say like consultancy, um, if you're delivering some sort of consultancy in engineering or something like that, and you build a really strong SaaS product to allow um, you know, customers to sort of self-serve the consultancy you were doing before, but in their own platform because now automated. You turn your competitors into potential partners, because it makes sense eventually for them to start onboarding their customers into your software and deliver their service through your software instead, because
Mhm.
they just be able to do it way cheaper. And that, it's I guess that's sort of what's happened with Zero. In the earlier days, Zero probably to a degree competed with traditional accountancy practices, but now traditional accountancy practices just partner with Zero to varying degrees and offer their solution on top of Zero.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
huge sort of partnership opportunity there for growth.
Yeah, no, definitely like Zero, Free Agent, Sage. They've become kind of like they've got their own marketplaces. So the accountancy software is like the fundamentally like the core bit that
Yeah,
everybody needs, but then you can choose to pay for additional add-ons that completely separate companies have paid have designed something, sorry, that
yeah, yeah,
complements the accountancy software. So there's things like add-on SaaS products that chase people for unpaid invoices, or like say time trackers, and there's
yeah,
various other things that you can bolt on top. Um, cool. Okay. So what's is there a type of, well, we talked about service-based businesses there, but is a certain like type of business or size of business, or could it be any company, and what do they need to do? What do they need to start thinking about before they get started?
yeah. So our customer base spans, startup businesses, typically funded startups, to multinational organizations and public sector. But so we work with a lot of different types of businesses who have that driving need to build a tech product. Um, but the sweet spot for us is typically scaling businesses who are doing, um, 2 to 10 million in revenue, who are really looking to grow through bringing a tech product to market. Um, the reason for that is they've already demonstrated that they can grow a business to a certain size with a service. So, it makes a lot of sense then to start looking at how you productize that service into tech.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a sort of ideal customer pull. I don't know if I missed the second part of your question there.
No, no, that's thank you for that. It was just the next bit was just what do they need to start thinking of, or
Oh
what
yeah,
before they get
yeah,
started? What
yeah.
do
And I
they need
think,
in place? Yeah.
yeah, no, thanks for the reminder. I'm gonna be starting to feel me. Yeah, I think regardless of size, right? I think if you're looking to build a tech product, I think the first thing you need to start thinking about, and I think it sort of splits into three areas. There's like what's your vision for the company, and like what does success actually look like? Because if you're not looking to sort of significantly grow, um, or if you're not doing something that building a tech product would benefit you doing, then maybe it's not the right decision. So there's got to be some driving factor there in terms of like an exit opportunity, the ability to grow, the ability to solve customer problems like above and beyond the way that's able to on the market at the minute. So there has to be some driver for change there, which creates like tangible value for you or your customers, and I think that's
Mhm.
really important. Otherwise, it's kind of pointless investing into a tech product. I think like really understanding the challenges that you either solve for your customers now or you intend to solve. And I think that's really important because when you look at the solutions that you deliver now to solve those problems and the impact that you create, those are the sort of things that we all need to take a step back and look at and kind of understand, okay, how do we translate that tech? How do we translate that impact and solving those problems into a tech product? So if you're an engineering company who is providing assessments which could potentially sort of save lives or save money on insurance claims, for example, because it prevents something going wrong, like really taking a step back and looking at those things and then understanding how you translate those benefits into a tech product that a customer can self-serve 24/7, I think is really important, because that should become like the core being or the core purpose of the software. Because very easy to get sidetracked or pulled in a different direction and build software that no one wants to use, so it's going to have some tangible benefit for the customers. And ultimately, when you combine those things together, is it a viable business opportunity? Could it be priced in a way that generates a return on investment and growth opportunity for you as a business? And does that growth opportunity look good enough that you're sort of sitting there thinking, actually, we probably want to know more about this. Because again, if you're building a tech product and the profit margin's too low, or it's not going to generate enough revenue, it's probably not going to be exciting enough, or it's probably not enough opportunity there to take calculated risk around it. So I think from the get-go, trying to answer those three questions, I think is really important, because it qualifies this in or out as a viable opportunity for that business. And I think what's exciting when you kind of go through that process, which is a process we take customers through all the time, is when you get to the end of it, and sometimes you kind of look at it jointly and think, well, actually, maybe there isn't an opportunity here. Maybe we should shake hands and leave it there. But other times, the customer looks at it and goes, you know what, like, there's something here. And I think that's quite an exciting sort of endpoint when you get to that position,
Well, I know, I know. Recently, I've spoken to a few people who they are like running very successful companies and multi-million pound turnover companies, but they're
Yeah.
relying very heavily on spreadsheets or manual processes, and it's phenomenal, really. It's like, wow, like, well done for getting to where you are now. But as someone who's from like a tech background and being in the thick of it, I'm always surprised how well they've done without having tech products or platforms behind them. But then they're ripe for this, aren't they? They're the ones who they have the ambition to grow, but they're creaking at the edges, and they just can't see how they're going to grow, because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know how to. They don't know what's possible.
Exactly that. Yeah.
And then there's other people that I know who they are thinking of exiting the company. That is on the horizon. That they're wanting to exit in the next few years, but the business is very reliant on them.
Yeah.
And as long as it's fully reliant on them doing a lot of the day-to-day work, it's not really a sellable business, because they need
them,
proper
isn't it?
systems and processes and tech in place that the new buyer can just take off their hands and run with it.
Yeah. And I think that's really important as well, because like it will keep some founders and scaling business owners up at night, because I think it can be a bit of a trap growing a business if you're not thinking in this way as well. Well, because like, if you just grow a business and grow and grow and grow it, and it's wholly reliant on you, then like it's, well, you're kind of trapped, right? Because if you stop, the business stops. Therefore, I've spoken with ops directors who work 80 hours a week and haven't had holidays in 4 years, because if they have a holiday, the business stops. And it's like, wow, like, you're going to have a heart attack or the business is going to close. Like, one of those two things is going to happen unless you solve this problem. And I think, so I think I think even just this thought process is a good way to understand how to separate like key people in the business from the business itself, so that those people are adding value and they're not like a key dependency of the business.
Yeah. I remember I remember a few years ago going to an event, and it was all about how to build a valuable business that you could sell, or that was potentially saleable,
Yeah,
and they were saying you got to start thinking you are going to exit your business at some point. You're either going to give up, it's going to fail, you're going to get
mm,
ill, you're going to
yeah,
die, you're going to retire, you're going to move into a chairman or chairperson role,
yeah,
or you're going to sell it. Like you're going to exit the business at some point. So you need to start thinking out what type of exit do you want. Um,
yeah,
yeah, and looking at, okay, look at all the things that we're doing at the minute and what could be automated, what could be
mhm,
productized, what could be streamlined, where's
yeah,
the value, and how can we make the service better for the end user, for the client or customer, but how can we make our lives easier as well? Um,
yeah. I totally agree, because I think a lot of businesses have a lot of value in them already. It's just kind of hidden in process, or it's in people's heads, or and that's risk in itself.
mhm,
It's in someone's head and they leave, and then suddenly that value's gone, right? It's now in a competitor's business instead. Um, so you know, I think creating the very least documenting what you do, and baking that into like a really strong process that can scale in itself, I think
mhm,
is a must for every business. But um, I think going a step further and then building that into a tech product, I think is a way to bake all of the value from the MD and the leadership team into a product, so that they are more free to do other things without necessarily the whole business being reliant on them, because the product which is doing that now.
mhm.
Um, and I think you've made a good point, because I think a lot of businesses have value sort of scattered throughout the business, and building a tech product allows you to sort of like put that all in one place, into one valuable product.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me, so you're just about to offer some productization workshops. So do you want to tell us a bit about that? What it
Yes,
entails? Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So, um, we've noticed that, um, I think it's something you said earlier, Paul. Like, the art of what's possible, um, is step one. Like, understanding the art of what's possible, because people don't know what they don't know. Um, and I think what we've done is, from building all the products we have, we've condensed all our learnings on how to get from business who kind of wants to understand how they would build a tech product, to tangible idea with quantifiable return on investment as a concept, to get them from A to B in that sense. So we've developed what we call like a productization workshop, which is complementary to our workshop, where we will sit down with like the leadership team of like a scaling business, for example, and go through that journey. And as I said at the start of the call, around like those key drivers, it starts with that stuff, like what matters to the business. Um, what problems do you solve? What impact do you create? And then how do we really focus on what that would mean in terms of features and benefits of a tech product, and how would that be laid out as a return on investment for you and your customers? Because I think the important thing in all of this is to understand, if you built a tech product, for example, which would save um, your customers like 100 grand a year in consultancy, and you could price that in terms of like a 3 to 10 times return on investment, so 10 to 30 grand a year, for example. Working that backwards to how many customers would you need to be generating £1 million a year in revenue. It
Mhm.
starts to align things in a way where it's like, okay, we are making some assumptions here, and there is some calculated risk in what we're laying out, but we're starting to stream this in a way that actually, um, by understanding what key metrics would need to hit after the product's been built in terms of sales, like, is this a product worth building? Because I think, like an MD of a business like this, like, they can start to, in the heads, understand, um, does that sound does that sound insane or not, or does that sound like something we can achieve? If we needed to hit 100K in first year in sales, we would need 10 customers. They would probably be able to just think about across their existing customer base and understand, like which ones might want to do that. So it starts to make it a tangible concept that they can understand if there's like real opportunity there. So that's our productization workshop, and like really excited to sort of kick those off.
Great. So what's the format of this? So it's like a free 2-hour workshop that people can register for. And then what happens? What happens in that?
Yeah. So I can share my screen. That's helpful, Paul.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-hour workshop, and we're going to be delivering these one-to-one and one-to-many. Okay, share my screen there.
Yeah.
So to be honest, it's a really simple format. We just go through 4 key areas, starting with the fundamentals of the business, the current business, the problems that business is solving, the solutions to deliver, and the impact. How we would then productize that into tech. The point is we keep this really simple with just a few stickies per item. The key benefits and features of the platform, the value that creates for the customer, and then really importantly at the end, how that could potentially be priced. So we can start to work out some return on investment for the customer and the business that wants to productize their service. So it's really simple, but that's on purpose because we're trying to take a complex business and create some clarity and simplicity around like the art of what's possible around how that business could build a tech platform, to productize that service.
Yeah.
So that's going to be in a that's going to be in a 2-hour workshop, either in person, one-to-one with the business, or one-to-many with many businesses. And we're sort of taking sort of registrations of interest for that at the minute, so we can work out the best way to deliver that.
Very cool. So if anyone watching this is interested, I've written it down actually. So they go to product.wubbleyou.co.uk and they just register their interest on there. I'm going to share the link underneath this after the video is ended as well. So if people go on there and they click to book workshop to register their interest, they just put in their contact details, and then you get in touch with them to arrange a convenient time.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll give you a call back, and we can just book something in.
Great. And then, so it's free 2-hour workshops. I mean, it sounds great. I know you've shown us a bit there, but you've told me quite a bit about what you're doing, and you are offering a lot of value in what you're doing there. And I think it'll help a lot of people clarify their thinking and also see where the opportunities are for their business, and especially if they're not tech businesses, and if they don't have their own in-house tech capability. Speaking to someone like you who can show them what is possible and where the opportunities might be.
Yeah, exactly. Because where people see like a real opportunity, they'll want to keep speaking with us. But so there will be people who do this who think actually, the opportunity is not right, or it's not the right time, or we actually it does look cool, but we don't want to take that risk, and that's okay. Like for us, this step is just about showing the art of what's possible, like educating people who are potentially interested in this, and just like sharing some knowledge around this. Because we've done a lot of this, and I think we've got a lot of value to share in this area, and the right people will want to sort of carry that forward. So yeah, there's no pressure to then be continue conversation or be a customer after all of that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great, and I know that you're personally very passionate about helping businesses like automate and save time and money and be more efficient and effective, and that's the big part of who you are and what your business is all about. So I think it's really, really good that you're offering this now.
Well, yeah, I want to be careful not to get on my soapbox here, but I think just as like I'm passionate about it because I think as people, like, we offer more value than just filling in spreadsheets. You know, I think if you take someone who just fills in spreadsheets all day, and that was automated, and they had the opportunity to do something else, there's going to be something about that person which is able to do something they maybe enjoy more, and it's more valuable.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I just think it allows us as people to do more if we automate the fundamentals.
Yeah. I'm going to quickly, because you've talked about automation, and I'm going to ask you quickly about AI, because like
Oh
there
yeah,
are some AI, and I know you're speaking at an event next week about
yeah,
this, but because some people might think, oh, automation, that sounds like you're going to bring in some tech, and that means that people are going to lose their jobs, or we're not needed as humans anymore. But that's
mm,
not what we're talking about, is it? That we're talking about how to elevate people's roles so that they can focus on more value added activities, and some of
yeah,
the mundane repetitive processes can be streamlined and speeded up. And AI is just a latest thing that's come around that can help
mm.
that. But do you want to say a few words about that, or is it too big a topic?
No, I'm happy. I'll speak to both things, Paul. Like, firstly, the job, automation, I think, does come with the fear of, okay, am I going to lose my job here? And my observation here, right? This is anecdotal, but I've done enough of this that I think it sticks. Um, people who are scaling businesses, you know, like, understand that it's hard to find good people. So if you have a good person, you don't want to let them go, right? And if you're scaling a business, then it needs more people anyway. So
Mhm,
when you automate stuff in a business, you generally just find better things for those people to do, rather than like
mhm,
remove their job entirely, because you prefer good people, right? Um, so I can't think of anything off the top of my head where we've developed something for a scaling business and then it's made people redundant. Just people are just doing more valuable things off the back of it.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and I think I think AI will have the same impact. I think, I mean, my broad assessment of AI at the minute, right, is that it's in equal measure hype as it is equal measure. Um, um, I forget the words here, but like, I think you've got a big camp of people who overhype it, and a big camp of people who think that it's underhyped, that it's not gonna. You have to help me out with my words here, Paul.
Bring it on you. So,
but yeah, well, in short, right? Um, as a developer with AI, right? There's a lot of things that it can do where it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. That might have saved me an hour doing something which is pretty mundane and pretty basic, right? So it's really good for, I give it like a very exact task, and it goes and does that. Or,
mhm,
you know, I might be writing a tender, and I've got 1,000 words and I need to trim it down to 700, so I can work back and forth with the AI to trim copy that I've written down to an acceptable level. So
yeah.
it's really good at stuff like that. But what I wouldn't trust it with at the minute, and this is why I think it's massively overhyped, is just like doing a role. Um, so there's a company called Devon, for example, which is pitching itself as like AI software developer. But the tasks it's doing are like so orchestrated and so like narrow that like it doesn't match the actual job that a developer would do. Um,
Mhm, mhm,
and I think that's where it's at the minute. Like it can maybe do like 1 to 2% of like a skilled development job, for example. Maybe a little bit more in other industries, but it's way away from being able to just like replace like a whole role. Um,
mhm,
so I think if you use it as a tool, like, I want to augment my capabilities with AI and make what I do better and add more value. I think it's great for that. But if you're using it purely for creation, I think I think you're just going to get yourself tied up. You might build a product with AI which which is insecure. You'll put content on LinkedIn that everyone's looking at and thinking, well, that's, ChatGPT's written that. So I think that's where people have got to be careful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a fire hose of my brain of on AI.
No, it's well, it's here, isn't it? And it's coming, and it's like every big company seems to be including AI in what they're offering,
Yeah.
or promising the AI in it, and some of it's good and some of it's pretty basic. And but yeah, like I say, it is probably overhyped, and you've got to sort of think, well, why is it overhyped? There's obviously a vested interest. There's a benefit to these people who are hyping it up because they're probably going to sell more products, or going to
Yeah.
they're in the business of selling AI, or they've invested in AI tools, so they want to force it down people's throats.
Yeah.
But I guess this is the benefit of working with someone like you, because you do know this stuff. You are very knowledgeable about it, and you can advise companies on what tools are available and where it could add value, and where it is overhyped and not really going to benefit them. So
Yeah. And I think that the distinction here, right, is I think if you're unsure, like take a step back, and separate. Okay, it's done that very quickly, and it's delivered something which looks confidently correct. But did it actually add value? Did it do something which has like tangibly like created like a positive outcome, which means that I don't have to spend time on something? And I think that's the difference, because there's a lot of AI at the minute which is just creating stuff, and it does it very quickly, and it looks cool and it looks professional. But when you boil it down, it's like what value what more information or insight did I get out of that I didn't have before?
Yeah.
So
Good.
like Loom has AI built into it, which automatically creates titles and summaries of the video and chapters and all of that sort of stuff. And
Yeah.
that actually does add a lot of value and saves a lot of time. So I'm like, wow, okay, that's great. We'll pay for that. But there's other AI I've seen which just rehashes information in a way where it's like, that's cool, but it didn't tell me anything new which I can use.
Good.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, cool. Well, is there anything else you? Well, I was just going to say, I'll mention this because I did notice on your website about your productization workshop. So, talk about return on investment, which we did talk about before, but some clients have reported a big increase in return on investment. So, just give you a bit of a plug here, like between 325 and 800% return on investment from the platforms, and some you have helped a few companies generate 7-figure revenue streams. So it is entirely possible that people watching this can do this, but they need to take the first step, I suppose, and have a chat with you about where they're at now and where they want to go to.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I think, for the right businesses, we can build great products. So get in touch if that's you.
yeah, register your interest, and also I know you do post some really good stuff on LinkedIn as well. So even if people are
Thanks.
watching this on ready for the productization workshop, I would encourage them to follow Mark and to follow the Wubbleyou LinkedIn page as well. So with that, I think we'll end it there. But thank you very much, Mark. It's been really good talking to you as always, and
No,
thanks
thank you.
for sharing your insights.
It's just I guess a plug the other way, Paul. I think if anyone's watching this and hasn't been to a platform event, then get yourself along. Especially if you're interested in tech and scaling businesses and startups, there's a lot of people like that there who you could learn from. And you're given sort of good business briefings in the area as well, Paul. So yeah,
Thank you very
down.
much. I appreciate it. Big mutual pat on the back. Well, yeah, well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create opportunities for people to be inspired and to be educated on what it takes to start and grow a business in the northeast of England. So yeah, I mean, I'm a fan as well, and I'll learn every time. But the monthly events in Newcastle have been going really well, and I'm just about to start doing them in Sunderland from this Friday onwards. So definitely get in touch, and there'll be more LinkedIn lives as well in between if you can't get to an in-person event. Good. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks,
Well,
Mark,
thank you,
and
Paul.
thanks everyone for watching. Okay, cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.